let's go to you, Dave. So, what are your initial thoughts of the Snyder Cut trailer?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's fair to say I've been one of the naysayers. I haven't really appreciated the cult of release the Snyder Cut that has swamped my timeline for the last few years. But at the same time, I can appreciate, people were passionate about this thing coming out. And actually, with the stuff that's come out about Whedon and in the last few months, I think actually it seems to be more of a righteous cause than I probably gave it credit for, in all honesty. So I had an academic interest in seeing how this was going to come out, but I kind of I was still on the fence, and I think I still am on the fence, really. I'll watch it and I'll be completely neutral. If this movie wows me, I'll come out and say it's wowed me. If I don't like it, I'll come out and say I don't like it. What I don't really like is I feel like there's a portion of the fan base who are going to shout from the rooftops that they absolutely love this, no matter what it's like. And the way it's gone with the amount of reshoots, so it wasn't really a Snyder Cut at all. It was how this was originally envisaged, and then even that, it wasn't. For me, it's evolved into something else because I'm not having all of the additional characters that have been crowbarred in there now. That wasn't what the original movie was going to be. But I can appreciate, this is, the 2020/2021 vision of what Snyder thinks, a Justice League movie should be. And from the trailer, it already looks better than the original.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Luke made a good point last week, because when I made exactly the same point as you, Dave, that it's not really the Snyder Cut, because he wasn't going to make a 4-hour film with all these characters and have the Joker in it. It's all hindsight's a wonderful thing. But like Luke said, if you have the opportunity to make the best version of what you was going to make, I guess you would take it, wouldn't you? At the end, he's not going to go, well, this is what I were released in 2017. Instead, he's got with the times, 4 years on. He knows what people want, and yeah, he's going to make what he thinks is best for the time. What I would say is, if you're a Zack Snyder fan, you're going to love this film, because it is chock full of Snyder-esque filmmaking techniques. There's, it even starts with a slow-mo shot with Superman. He's deaf in Batman vs Superman. It's got all his color palette, that grey drab. It's a Zack Snyder bonanza. So I think the Snyder fans are going to love this no matter what. What did you think then, Max? What was your thoughts on the trailer?
Oh, I don't think it's going to surprise anyone to say that I loved it. I mean, aside from whatever anyone's opinion is on Snyder as a filmmaker and everything else that sits around this whole movement about trying to get this film made and all the rest of it, and whether you're sort of on the fence on it, or whether you're all for it or you're against it, I just think if you're a comic book fan, and specifically if you're a DC fan, then this is like almost a dream come true. I mean, yes, of course, it remains to be seen what the actual finished film is going to be like, because no one actually knows till you see it. Of course, the proof's in the pudding. It may not be quite all that we're building it up to be. Who knows? We'll see come March the 18th. But just as a comic book fan, what a dream come true to get a 4-hour cut that's just got a kitchen sink mentality, just like you said, and yourself and Luke have very accurately said on your show, that this is something more than if we'd lived in a parallel universe and all the shenanigans and the tragedy of Zack Snyder's family had never taken place and he'd just been allowed to make his film. It wouldn't have been this film that we're about to see. I completely agree, but in a way, what a gift we've ended up with. I think it's just great that we're going to get this all and sundry thrown into the melting pot and just going to see something that we're probably never going to see again in a lot of ways. Will we ever see this concoction of characters and casting in the same film again? It remains to be seen, to be honest.
What I worry is this isn't a conclusion. This is him jumping on the masses of fan support he got, and instead of, wrapping up his trilogy, he's going to create a film which is more saying, well, if you keep this support up, maybe they'll let me make more and I can continue this story, because I'm leaving you with questions unanswered, as in, say, like the nightmare scene. Obviously, it seems like this Justice League is going to focus very heavily on that nightmare sequence. But is that going to be concluded, or is it going to end there? Because I think where I read in his original ideas, Zack Snyder said the Justice League would lose in the first film. They would lose. Darkseid would come along, very similar to sort of like Avengers Infinity War. That it was going to be a two-parter, and that you'd go from there. And I have this feeling that that's how it's going to end, and then this whole thing's going to start up again. That the fans are going to say, no, let him do the sequel. The trailer didn't do all that much for me. I kind of echo what Luke said to me earlier. I watched it and it was kind of everything I thought it was going to be. And something that really did surprise me was a lot of the clips shown in the trailer were actually in the original Justice League film, just with different sort of color filtered. I mean, there's a one of the clips in the trailer is Superman using his heat vision down on someone, and that's ripped straight from the original Justice League. When he does that to Steppenwolf, it's just the color filters changed and he has his black suit on. So that was something that really, really surprised me, that how much of original footage there was. But I mean, was there anything you guys noticed that surprised you, or any little like sort of hidden stuff that you noticed? I mean, I'll open up to either of you, whoever can answer first.
Well, I'll go first because I assume I'll have noticed a lot less than Max. So, I mean, the first thing is, obviously, you've got Superman in the black suit there. And so I was going to ask Max, I mean, what's all that about?
Well, it's true to the comics. I mean, in the comic books, when he was killed as a result of his fight with Doomsday, which obviously we get at the end of BVS, when he gets resurrected in the comics, he comes back to business, so to speak, in a black suit as opposed to his traditional red and blue. So it's being faithful to the comic books, just giving people what they want to see. Really, that's how Superman should look when he comes back from the dead, having been killed in combat with Doomsday. I mean, it's not permanent. He doesn't stay in the black suit then ad nauseum. It's only a short-term thing, but it's supposed to represent like some kind of obviously it won't be the same in the book because of the means of resurrection in the film, but in the books it was supposed to be like a Kryptonian regeneration suit that he wears, and then when he comes back from the dead, it's
supposed to help him. I think take in sunlight, isn't it? It's something like that. He's supposed to then absorb more sunlight so he can get to full power quicker. Because, I mean, that's something that always annoyed me about the original Justice League, that he wakes up from being dead for a year or so and he's throwing elbows and knees quite happily and seems that he's stronger than ever, when I thought that perhaps returning from the dead, you'd be feeling a little bit groggy. So maybe in this, he won't be so overpowered, which would be a bit more interesting to watch.
So am I going to be deprived of the CGI mustache then?
Yeah, unfortunately you are, aren't you? Yeah, there'll be none of that in this film, that's a bonus straight off the bat, isn't it?
I mean, what I appreciate about the trailer is, it's all action. It's very Snyder, isn't it? The colours all drained out of it. It's very operatic music.
There's some slow-mo as well.
Yeah, very slow motion. So it is straight out of the book of Snyder. But it doesn't lay out like major plot changes. I guess you see, there's a painting of Darkseid there, and so obviously, we're going to see him on screen, and we'd seen a few snips of that already. So again, I don't know how is Darkseid going to play into this?
I think he's going to be very much a minor character in it. I mean, they're not going to suddenly have him as the main villain. I know they're using him for the flashback scene that was in the theatrical cut, where it showed the sort of first attempt to invade Earth, where it shows like the Amazonians and the Atlanteans and the ancient Green Lantern fighting on it, Steppenwolf. Well, that's now Darkseid in this film, a young Darkseid. And then I think, from what I've read in terms of how they originally plotted it, you're going to see, obviously you see that footage in the trailer we've all just watched, where he's sort of the man behind Steppenwolf, and you get a sense of how massive he is as well, because there's that shot in the trailer, isn't there, of Steppenwolf kneeling before him, and the size difference. I mean, Steppenwolf's like enormous character, isn't he? But Darkseid's that bit taller, so it just shows what an enormous bastard he is. But I think from what I've heard is he's not going to interact with the main characters per se. There might be some of him in that nightmare sort of dystopian future, which we'll get to in a bit with the Joker. But
well, I mean, what's the score with the Joker being in there? So we're going to have Jared Leto's Joker, who is my least favorite Joker. I think I can't think of anyone worse. But I mean, he's made up a little bit better. We get
he looks different. Did you know, very quickly before you expand on your point? I noticed on his forehead, the tattoo damaged. That's gone.
Yeah.
On the left side, he had like a teardrop tattoo. That's gone as well. He looks more kind of like the Heath Ledger Joker, as in he's just painted white and he's got a smudged red smile, when before it was all kind of clean cut, and now he looks... the look is better. In fairness to Snyder, he's got the look so much better. But yeah, he seems pretty different. And I noticed he was wearing a SWAT uniform. So is this picking up straight off the Suicide Squad? Because he broke Harley out, didn't he, in a SWAT uniform?
Yeah.
And I noticed he had that on his back, said SWAT. Yeah. That was the one little Easter egg I found.
Well, I have actually done a bit of reading up on this, actually, as to what his presence actually means in the film. Now, again, it's all tittle-tattle and rumour and innuendo till the actual film comes out. It's only what I've been reading online. It might just be some ardent fanboy's theory. But obviously that footage there was in that sort of alternative future, wasn't it? You see, because you can see him interacting with Batman there, and Batman's wearing that sort of desert jacket, trench coat thing that he wore, in that nightmare sequence. Yeah. So this is very much that period as opposed to the present day. And supposedly Joker's sort of bit in this film is he's become sort of a necessary evil for Batman, because obviously they're in this dystopian future now where Darkseid's army have won and invaded the world. But if you recall in BVS, when he has that vision, his next sort of bit immediately after that is Barry Allen, the Flash, appearing to him in the Batcave, isn't it? An older version of Batman who's come back from the future to warn him about what's to happen. And this film was supposed to be the payoff for that. And supposedly the Joker is basically there to help Batman sort of, I believe anyway, steal a mother box from the sort of apocalypse army who are on Earth, which is what they need, and it's necessary to help the Flash, apparently in this context of the film, travel back through time to obviously warn Batman, as seen in BVS. So I think he's become although they're obviously mortal enemies in the mainstream present day timeline of these films, I think in this far off flung dystopian future, Batman's sort of, it's all hands to the pump, so to speak. So Batman's utilising him for his skill set, basically. And apparently that's
don't like that.
His involvement's going to be in the film, yeah.
Yeah, don't like that. I'm not all for that. I don't
know. I could get behind that.
Nah.
For me, it's a bit like Thor and Loki, isn't it? They're mortal enemies, but when there's a bigger threat, then they have to kind of get together and work together and team up. So I don't know. Mind you, yeah, you're probably right. Would he give a shit? He's just a bit loopy, isn't he? I do like the look, though. Getting to your point, Matt, I do absolutely think he looks a lot more like the Heath Ledger interpretation of Joker from Dark Knight, and that's my favourite Joker. So, if he's channeling him, then it's got to be better than what we got in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think they got that look so wrong in Suicide Squad, and even first pictures I saw of it, I knew it was never really going to work. And people said, give it time, let it see it in motion. But they've obviously just completely abandoned that. He doesn't even look like he's got any of those stupid face tattoos. I mean, he had ha 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 etched on his forearm. I mean, who did that for him? It's just ridiculous. The damaged one on his forehead was it's so stupid. But yeah, it just seems as he obviously got some laser surgery on it and got rid of it. So well done to him. I mean, in this trailer, it was no real different to the first teaser we got like a couple months back. I didn't feel like much got revealed, just that it just kind of felt like to me like, oh, here's some of the deleted scenes. Here's how it was supposed to look, with my drab color palette, and here's my gratuitous slow-mo that I use for everything. I did know they did do more callbacks to sort of Batman vs Superman. So I remember Batman vs Superman. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor spoke about the red capes, and Alfred, Jeremy Irons' version, speaks about the red cape. Obviously, and I kind of felt the comment in here was kind of an FU to the original Justice League, because they say, how do you know you can defeat the charging bull without calling upon the red cape? So, how can the Justice League defeat this guy even if you don't have Superman? Because obviously in the original Justice League, something that always annoyed me was they're getting absolutely battered. And then Superman comes along and he just beats him himself. And then I wondered, what's the actual point of the Justice League if Superman did their jobs all for them? So, I mean, what kind of Superman do you think we'll be getting in this film? And I talk about Superman mostly because he is one of my favorite characters. But I mean, what kind of version do you think we'll be getting? A weakened Superman, or sort of just a less powerful? Because I think Snyder always made him quite powerful in his previous two films. And I mean, do you think he's going to tone that down and maybe make the Justice League more of a team compared to just let the really powerful guy crack on and we'll kick back?
Possibly. It's hard to say without seeing it, isn't it? I mean, it's, like you said, they're not really showing too much in this trailer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you've got to keep something back, haven't you?
Yeah,
really?
Of course.
You don't want to reveal your hand too much. I think the trailer sort of strikes a nice balance between giving you some tidbits that perhaps you were not expecting to see, but not really revealing a whole lot of stuff. Certainly loads of characters that we know are going to be in the film that weren't anywhere near this trailer. In terms of Superman, not sure really. I mean, again, I've heard rumours that in this film, you're going to see him waver when he initially sort of comes back from the dead. There's rumours that he's going to sort of have his sort of mind slightly altered by Darkseid as well, and that it won't just be like it was in the film where he came back and couldn't remember who he was, beat everyone up in the Justice League with ease, and then Lois came along.
For about 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Saw Lois, and it
all came flooding back. Yeah, but I think in this film again, it might be linked into that future, which again links, like you said, there's so many callbacks. It links back to BVS, where in that future when Superman appears, and he appears to be a villain in that future, doesn't he? And I think he even says to Batman, she was everything and you took her from me, I think referring to Lois perhaps dying in that sort of dark future as well. Hence why when Barry comes back, he says to Bruce in the Batcave in BVS, he says, Lois Lane, she's the key, Lois Lane, So I think in this film you might see more not villainous, what am I saying, but certainly less noble Superman before he sort of gets his head on straight. So that's going to be interesting to see.
The nightmare scene in this, do you think that's actually happened, or that's another sort of flash forward of what could come unless we get Superman in check who's running amok?
I think it's going to be like an X-Men Days of Future Past kind of vibe, where you're seeing them in that future, and it's a very real future that's happened and taken place, but by means of being able to go back to stop something happening in the past, then you erase that future from ever happening like they did in that film, obviously. So I think it's going to be maybe slightly like that, where you'll see quite a decent chunk of time depicting what it's like in that future and the sort of catastrophic events, but then obviously they'll try and retcon that future by what happens in the past, or the present, I should say. I'm confusing myself now, to be honest, Matt.
I'll confuse myself, don't worry.